Starting with the top political developments of today, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has apologized for his bizarre comments on the role of women's education in population control. Speaking in the State Assembly about women's education, the Chief Minister used language yesterday that was described as vulgar and derogatory by many. The opposition, BJP, had slammed it as vulgar. The Chief Minister made these remarks while explaining why Bihar's fertility rate had dropped from 4.2 to 2.9%. We have reactions lined up for you. Listen in to what everyone had to say.
अगर कोई शब्द बात आ गई कि पुरुष और स्त्री दोनों जो लड़का लड़की रात में सोने की बात है, तो मैं माफी मांगता हूं उसके लिए। मैं इसके लिए मैंने वापस करता हूं इन सब बातों का। अगर इसको हमने यूं ही कुछ बात कहा और उसको लेकर के इतनी निंदा हो रही है, तो मैं भाई देखिए, अगर मेरी कोई बात कहना गलत था तो मैं इसके लिए माफी मांगता हूं।
एक बात बता दे, इसका कोई अगर कोई गलत मतलब निकालता है तो ये गलत बात है। एक तरह से जो भी मुख्यमंत्री जी का बयान आया जो सेक्स एजुकेशन के बारे में, और जब भी सेक्स एजुकेशन की बात की जाती है तो इसकी लोग जो है शर्माते हैं, हिचकते हैं, तो उससे लोगों को बचना चाहिए। तो स्कूलों में पढ़ाई होती है भाई, साइंस बायोलॉजी ये तो स्कूलों में पढ़ाई होती है, बच्चे पढ़ते हैं भाई। तो हमको लगता है अगर सेक्स एजुकेशन की अगर बात आई, उनका कहने का मतलब आबादी कंट्रोल जो है क्या करना है, वो प्रैक्टिकली बात जो भी आती है उन्होंने अपना बात किया। तो इससे लोगों को गलत तरीका में नहीं लेना चाहिए, एतराज नहीं लेना, बट इट शुड बी मोर टेकन एज अ सेक्स एजुकेशन।
देखिए, उन्होंने माफी तो भले ही मांग लिया, लेकिन पूरा बिहार शर्मसार हुआ है। और एक मुख्यमंत्री को भी, नीतीश कुमार जैसे व्यक्ति को इतनी हिम्मत कैसे हुई कि महिलाओं के बारे में इतनी अश्लील, अभद्र, अपमानजनक, सेक्सिस्ट, उनको साहस कैसे हुआ।
That was BJP leader Sushil Modi blaming the Chief Minister of Bihar, Nitish Kumar, for his derogatory comments that he issued yesterday. Moving on, so Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has proposed to increase the combined job reservation for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes, which are the OBCs, and extremely backward classes, EBCs, from the existing 50% to 65% to comply with the proportions of the populations of respective groups as mentioned in the caste survey report. Remember that a detailed report was tabled in the Bihar Assembly on Tuesday about the socio-economic conditions of different caste groups in Bihar. Since a 10% quota for the economically weaker sections groups as announced by the centre has also been adopted by the state government, the total quota in Bihar will now amount to 75%. This means that there will be a new quota formula. Now, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has said that the law required for this will be enacted in the ongoing winter session of the state legislature. The session ends on November 10th. Now, will the Bihar Chief Minister use this assembly session convened earlier than usual to raise this 50% cap in the state to increase quotas for OBCs? Now, the caste survey data also puts the state at a better position to fend off legal challenges to taking the quota cap beyond 50%. But what actually are the legal constraints that Nitish Kumar is likely to face? Remember, for the most recent Maratha reservation, states such as Telangana, Odisha, Chhattisgarh have also attempted to do this but failed. Let me go across to my colleague Arvind Gunasekaran to understand this issue better. Arvind, so this new quota in Bihar has been fixed for SCs at 20%. We saw Nitish Kumar come out with this data yesterday. The combined population is around 19.7%, which is 13 crore. Now, STs will get a 2% reservation in accordance with their 1.7% population in the state. OBCs and EBCs will get a 43% job quota as their combined population stands at 63.1% according to the newly released data. Arvind, tell me, how does caste survey data released by the Bihar government reopen this whole debate on the Indira Sawhney ceiling on the reservations that's fixed at 50% by the Supreme Court?
Vasudha, as expected, after the caste census survey in the state of Bihar, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar has proposed that the reservation will be increased to almost 65% in the state of Bihar. So Bihar will not be the first state to increase the reservation to 65 or above 65%, or in a sense breaching the 50% cap on reservation, because there are several other states like Tamil Nadu has also breached this 50% reservation, and Tamil Nadu as on date has almost 69% reservation in effect. So this means that the 50% reservation cap has to be breached. That is like going against the Indira Sani judgment. But if you could read closely the Indira Sani judgment has not said that no state can breach the 50% cap on reservation. What they have said is that even for any state to breach this 50% reservation, there has to be empirical data. It has to be data-based reservation system in order to breach the 50%. And that's why, if you could see in this particular case, Bihar government started with this caste survey. Now, armed with this caste survey, with the caste survey data on their hand, and based on that only, they are saying that based on this particular data, that we're gonna breach the 50% cap on reservation, and we're gonna increase it to 65%. So in a way, they have a case in their hand wherein they could, even if it is challenged in any of the courts, they could argue before the court, saying that in the Indira Sani judgment, it has said that there has to be empirical data to increase the reservation. In our hand, we have done the caste survey, and because the caste survey shows that there is an increased percentage of population when it comes to backward people or SC, and based on that, we have increased the reservation. Seems to be the ground that the Bihar government is trying to take before the court. Again, it has to be tested in the court of law, because Tamil Nadu government, which has kept the reservation at 69%, they have also got the president assent, and very importantly, they have kept it under the 9th schedule also. So that means in Tamil Nadu's case, even though they have kept it in the 9th schedule in the constitution, even that is under challenge before the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court is still hearing the matter, even though it got president's assent and even though it has been placed under 9th schedule. So if Tamil Nadu case is settled once and for all, that will be the benchmark case for all other states. If at all the Supreme Court says that the Tamil Nadu government 69% reservation is valid, that means that all these states can follow the same process of breaching the 50%. But here the advantage for the Bihar government, like Tamil Nadu government, is that they have the empirical data in their hand, so they can argue before the court saying that we have this data based on which we have breached the 50% reservation.
Right. Thank you, Arvind, for joining us with those details. We also have Ashutosh Srivastava, who is an advocate in the Supreme Court, and Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, a political analyst, with us to help us understand this issue better. Mr. Srivastava, let me come to you first. So many states have tried to breach this 50% ceiling despite the Indira Sani judgment. We just heard Arvind talk about Tamil Nadu. How do you see Bihar's, Bihar Chief Minister's announcement, this proposal to increase quota to 65% and, of course, to 75%, including the EWS? What are the legal challenges that he'll have to face?
Article 15.4 and Article 16.4.4a of the Constitution, they speak about the reservation, defined in the Constitution. Now, the entire issue, as we know, was referred to the Supreme Court in 1992. It was decided by the 9 judges bench, and this constitutional bench was constituted to decide the issue, and it came to a conclusion that there should not be, it should not cross 50% of the total reservation in the country. Otherwise, it will be a kind of violation, or it will be against the principles of the Constitution, basically Article 14 and 21 of the Constitution, where the citizens have to be treated equally. And it will, give a different kind of impact on the minds of the people and the citizens who feel that they have to be treated equally. And the basic principle of the Constitution has to be protected and has to be maintained in harmony and fraternity with the citizens, irrespective of their caste or religion. So
right.
This was the basic idea, basic principle, and based on that, the judgment was passed. Now, we have seen, obviously, that some of the states have come up with the reservation by crossing the maximum cap of 50%. And these issues are also being raised in the Supreme Court. In fact, this Article 334, which talks about the reservation in the in the parliament and in the legislative assemblies, which was fixed for 10 years, and how the reservation is being continued there also for these many years. Now, there have been amendments from time to time where this 10 years cap has also been increased. Now it is 60 years with the latest amendment. So this matter is also pending before the Supreme Court to decide whether such amendments or increase in the years is also in consistence with the Constitution or not. Now, we have seen in Maharashtra also when the reservation was increased and it went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court struck down that it should not cross 50% of the total reservation. Now, some of the states have the argument that the Indira Sahni judgment of 1992 doesn't bar any state from making such laws for the reservation. But at the same time, the article in the Constitution is common. That is Article 16.4 or 15.4. That is actually applicable to all the states as well. So
Right.
I think it is going to be a very difficult proposition if such amendment is also passed. Then obviously this will be referred further to the Supreme Court, which will also decide the same issue again, whether increasing the percentage of reservation more than 50%, which was decided in 1992, is in consistence with the Constitution or not. So, see, the basic idea is the basic principle of the Constitution has to be protected. And
Right.
Supreme Court has always acted as the guardian of the Constitution,
Right, sir.
looking that there should not
Right.
be any violation to the rules framed or the articles of the Constitution, which is basically in existence. And based on that articles only, the Supreme Court has decided many such matters and has come to such conclusions. So
Right.
that has to be maintained by the states. That could be the expectation of the Supreme Court.
Right, sir. So those are the legal considerations. Now, Mr. Tiwari, now we saw that the Supreme Court earlier this year struck down this very controversial Maharashtra government decision to exceed 50% reservation for Maratha community in education and jobs. This was a politically loaded decision. Now, the court said that Maratha community was not educationally or socially backward. We see a lot of influential communities across states fighting for reservations, be it Jats or Gujars or even Patidars. Now, what does this demand for increasing 50% quota mean for political parties? Is it a challenge for them? We also see parties like Congress, in their CWC passing this resolution that they would also want to remove this 50% ceiling. But clearly, the Supreme Court has not been quite interested in doing that. So how do you see the political ramifications of a decision like this?
See, the political ramifications are many. If you see Nitish Kumar's and Bihar's ramification per se, he has tried to checkmate the BJP or set a trap for the BJP that the party is anti-reservation or anti-backward. So that's why we see even the BJP supporting it in the assembly, or rather has made statements that they will be supporting it. It's also an attempt to project Nitish Kumar as the next VP Singh or a VP Singh 2.0, and to revive the Mandal agitation or Mandal 2.0, because we know that the Ram Mandir will be inaugurated next month or next to next month in 2024 and will be a big issue before the Lok Sabha elections. Now you see, while the Maharashtra quota is separate from this because it's on a case-by-case basis, and I saw one of the GFX which you are putting for the audience. The Tamil Nadu matter is in the Supreme Court for 11 years now, and it has still not decided it, correct? And there is already an increase of the reservation in Tamil Nadu. So when the court was deciding on the Maratha OBC quota issue, it said that there is no exceptional circumstances to support this. Now, Nitish, I think, has covered the tracks. There is a survey or a commission report to back this, number one. And number two, since 33% of the OBCs are making less than 6,000 per month, which is much higher than the state average of 25%, there is a case that this is an exceptional circumstance and this requires a higher reservation quota in Bihar. Now, this will be challenged in the courts and the courts have to settle it. Politically, he also wants to take away the issue and the credit which the Congress wants to now take. If you see now, the Congress is raising the OBC census issue and promising that they will do a caste census in all of its manifestos, despite being in the government in two states, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh. So he is one of the first and the foremost to actually be in power and conduct a census and show to the world, or to the India rather, that this can be done, and he is the champion, or he wants to emerge as a champion of the OBCs. Now, of course, this will lead to further demands across the states from governments, and this will put pressure on state governments and parties to have a flexible approach on this 50% cap. And this 50% cap, as you mentioned, is not a sacrosanct cap. Not only Tamil Nadu, there are many states which have exceeded this cap, and even the central government itself has exceeded the cap from 50% to 60%. So it's on a case by case. The courts will decide, and the courts will also take a long time to decide it. But during this period, he would have taken the political mileage of the issue and hopes to gain in the Lok Sabha elections as well as the Vidhan Sabha elections in 2025.
Mr. Srivastava, I'll come to you next, but one more clarification from Mr. Tiwari. What do you think of this argument by states when they say that reservation needs to be, it needs to be a domain of states, because states understand the socio-economic conditions of their citizens, of their people better. And this is something that Telangana government also wrote to the Supreme Court. We see so many assemblies passing resolutions. We saw Chhattisgarh and even Odisha approaching Supreme Court with their demands to increase OBC reservation in local body polls. So this whole argument by states that reservation is a state matter or should be left to states, how do you see that argument, sir?
I think the states are justified in that argument because it's a state by state specific case, and they are better aware of the socio-economic class and the population of the state than the central government. And the central government itself, though this reservation will require a residential assent, the central government itself has now allowed the state governments to make changes in the OBC list and the SC/ST list. So they can do this as per their own requirements. And I think the states are justified in demanding that they should also be given the right to make laws pertaining to reservations.
Srivastava, explain to us this particular thing that a lot of us have been confused about. Now, Tamil Nadu is seen as a state that is seen to have effectively surpassed this rule, but this case is still in the court. Now, when we say that Tamil Nadu government convinced the centre in the past to move a constitutional amendment to place the legislation in the 9th schedule of the constitution, does that mean that it excludes it from the judicial review? How did Tamil Nadu manage to do this reservation bit, sir?
You're asking me?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Srivastava.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. The matter is already sub judice. It is not that they have managed or they have convinced the court to do so. See, the constitution is common to all the states in the country. It is not that the different states, they adopt different constitution of this country. The constitution is very common. It is very clear. See, the survey part my learned friend said is correct. See, the states can have their own surveys because they may know the people better. They can approach and reach to the local people and they can find out as to what kind of amendments or a betterment can be done, or what kind of welfare plans can be framed for the betterment of the people. That's a different issue. But when we talk about the constitution, when we talk about Supreme Court, when we talk about the judgments, when we talk about the laws, when it is coming to the union list, obviously the Supreme Court will supersede and the constitution of this country will supersede. There are state lists in which the states can frame their laws, but obviously in consistence with the constitution, they cannot go beyond the constitution. So whatever has been described and the limitations have been given, that has to be followed. And if any, there is any issue with any of the states who have not properly followed the same, the matters are already before the concerned, even the high courts and also before the Supreme Court to decide. So I would say that since the matter is sub judice, we cannot say that they have managed. They see when the matter is sub judice, it is yet to be decided.
Right.
So I'm sure it may take some time, but the matter will come up and will be decided on the merit of the case, and will set example for the entire country as it happened in 1992 as well.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Srivastava. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for joining us on this very important discussion. That was our panel, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari and Mr. Ashutosh Srivastava, explaining the legal challenges in front of Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar in implementing a 65% quota in the state.